Okay, for the second part, let's continue our discussion about data transmission by introducing the term data communications. So, this is the transmission of digital data between computers. So, our format is in terms of digital data, and normally we use computers or any device with a built-in computer, okay, or a processing unit. So, uh, digital or data communication system is like this one, right? Okay, it has these essential components. Okay, first we have the sender, of course, and then the receiver. In most cases, the sender could also be the receiver, and the receiver can also be the sender. Okay, because they are bidirectional systems. They can transmit and receive um, from time to time. Okay, so we have the sender and the receiver, plus, of course, the thing that connects them, either a wired or a wireless medium or channel. Okay, so the most important of all, the most important components of this of our data communication systems is the message itself. So whenever we um, design how our robots communicate, okay, we have to establish first what is the message to be transmitted. Okay. In the same way, what is the message to be stored or processed? Okay. So we have to um, base everything else um, in our message. Okay. Is it a video? Is it an image, an audio file, or sensor data, or something else? Okay, so you have to base the design on that message. But if you want to make it flexible, then you go to you settle for high specs like those for video. Okay, because if your system can allow video to go through, then most likely all other signals can go through it as well. All right. So just imagine your video player can play audio files as well. Okay. In Blu-ray discs, they can also open files. Okay, like your phones, our smartphones cannot just open audio or video files, but also they can open PDFs and other documents. Okay, so uh, each type of message or each type of data being transmitted within our data communication system has a corresponding file size and bit rate, okay, or data rate. So we have to establish first our purpose. What is that type of data? What purpose? Why do we have this communication system in the first place? Right? Because we have to transmit this kind of data. Okay. So once we have established that, we have answered that, we now come up with our transmission medium that will link the sender and the receiver or the two parties. But they cannot understand each other if they operate at different protocols or the set of rules that define how communication is being done. Okay, so that's the addition actually in data communication systems in comparison with the basic ones or the general ones. Okay, so the protocols must be defined. Okay, how do these devices communicate with each other? What should be the protocol that they will follow? Okay, because if they are following different protocols, then they cannot understand each other. So it's best to, when choosing your sender or your receiving module in your robots, you make sure first that they understand the protocol that the other party can understand. Okay, so that's the main um compo these are the four main elements of a data communication system. Now, also in a data communication system, we have two main categories of devices that we have in our system. We have the DCE and the DTE. Okay, so in most cases, DTEs are the standalone devices. They are the ones that actually um, consume the data. Okay, or maybe they are the ones who actually create the data, right? And they mostly come with an interface with the user, right? And of course, the most obvious examples are our computers and our smart devices. Okay, so they are the ones meant to be connected, right? And to connect them, they sometimes go through what we call DCE, or data control communications equipment. Now, this is the part where the terms data communications and data wait, data communications and digital communications mainly differ. Okay? When we have communication between two DCEs only, okay, between DCEs, then that communication is digital communications, especially if we are using digital modulation formats. Okay. So between DCEs, that's our digital communications. But if we include the communication involving our DTEs, then that's already data communications. Okay. So DTE to DTE, sorry, DTE to DTE, we have data communications. Between DCE to DCE only, we have digital communications. And normally here, this is the part where we convert digital to analog and then vice versa, especially if we have a wireless transmission in between. Okay? So at the same time, the process of sending data over a communication medium to one another or one or more computing network or communication devices is called data transmission. And we have two main options when we transmit data through these lines. Okay, whether we transmit them in parallel mode or serial mode. Okay, parallel mode is ideally the faster one because it has more channels, it has less traffic. Just imagine we have more lanes for our in our highway. Okay, we if we have more lanes, then more cars can pass through in each lane, meaning faster. The transmission is faster. While if we choose serial data, we have limited. We have normally one, two, or at most four channels that the data can go through. Okay, so since we have less channels, that the data come one after the other. Okay, they are traveling our media one after the other. So it takes more time. But using some techniques, then we can actually improve them, just like what our USB do, or the Universal Serial Bus. Okay, so it makes use of serial data transmission, and um, for it to be faster, it has certain mechanisms, like additional channels and some encoding techniques within it. Okay. Furthermore, serial transmission can be classified as either asynchronous, asynchronous, and synchronous. So the point here is to check which of these is being used by the data transmission module that you are considering. Okay? So if it's isochronous, then the other party must use isochronous module also. Okay, so that's just the point. Same thing with the protocol. They must have the same protocols. So in terms of transmission mode, they must have the same specific type of transmission mode. Okay, so this is for the data transmission to take place. Otherwise, they cannot understand each other, resulting to not being transmitting the data effectively. Okay, or maybe you can transmit that, but it got corrupted at some level, right? So when we are transmitting our data, this is especially a big concern in robots that require real-time responses. Um, we have to make sure that our robots um, or the communication part or the data transmission aspect of our robots have a high throughput or the which is the actual measure of transmission speed or how much data is successfully transferred per unit time. Okay, and that is possible if we have enough bandwidth. Okay, the bandwidth is a theoretical measure of how much data could be transferred from one source destination to another. And we have certain calculations regarding that, but that's not our concern here. Um, Rather, we have the relationship between the bandwidth, latency, and throughput. So what we want is minimal latency. And we can achieve that by having as much throughput as possible within the given bandwidth. Okay, imagine the bandwidth as the tube where our or the pipe where water flows. Okay, the actual water that flows is our throughput. Okay, so not at all times that you have this much bandwidth, at all times the throughput will be like that. Okay. But if we have a throughput that's much bigger than our bandwidth, or I mean, if we have a signal being transmitted at a data rate that is much bigger than what our bandwidth can accommodate, then we can expect only a portion of that signal to be transmitted effectively. And the rest will be delayed or maybe lost. Okay? So whatever the maximum of our bandwidth, that's also the maximum throughput that we can have. Bandwidth is typically fixed. Okay? And the throughput is depending on what we transmit. Okay? When we have a bigger data that is being transmitted, the actual throughput will just be equivalent to our bandwidth. I just imagine if you allow a bigger object to go through a certain container, then it will overflow. Okay? Whatever, for example, you have a lot of water being poured to a certain container. So whatever the container can hold, that will be the only one that's going to proceed to the next stage. But the rest will overflow and could not enter the next stage. Okay? So whenever that happens, we experience latency. Some parts of our data being transmitted are delayed, or much worse, they are lost. So there are mechanisms in our communication systems that when there are lost portions of our data, the the sender will basically send that portion again. Okay, so the receiver will send the feedback. Okay, I did not receive this part, so the sender will send it again. But sometimes they cannot do that due to a very low bandwidth. Okay, now I mentioned bandwidth is fixed with regards to the throughput. Okay, it does not expand according to the throughput, but the bandwidth actually changes when our systems are meant to be dynamic. Like whenever there's a lot going on, the system can expand its bandwidth intentionally. Okay, or when the system wants to conserve energy or resources, then they can narrow the bandwidth. So it depends on the design actually. So you have to compromise between the resources that you exert for the transmission and the speed that you want to achieve regarding your data transmission. Okay? So bandwidth and latency are somewhat um, opposite. Okay? So lesser bandwidth, bigger latency. Higher bandwidth, less latency. Okay? So higher bandwidth, you can have more throughput. You can maximize your entire bandwidth with your data. But if you only have a very small bandwidth, then you can only have this much throughput as well. That means we have a lot of delay or latency. Okay. Also, regarding protocols, the data communication equipment that we usually use in our when having our robots communicate with one another or with a server or with a remote user, um, the such equipment actually follow certain protocols, and the protocols can be organized depending on the layers they belong to. Okay. Regarding the hardware itself, we have the physical layer, like the transmission media that we use. Okay, whether we use Wi-Fi, we use Ethernet, we use I2C or SPI or UART. Okay, that's the physical layer. Okay, so we have protocols. Meaning if our robot A is configured to communicate via UART, then robot B can communicate only with robot A if it uses UART protocol as well. Okay? So meaning the way the wirings in the communication module are done, that must be according to the protocol for UART. Okay? Now, leveling it up when we have, especially when we use um, Ethernet systems like via our switch, via our UTP cables, then um, we follow that protocol for our data link layer, and even for our network layer when we have our routers. When our communication involves router, especially when we want to go to other networks. Okay. And now when we go to other networks, there will be protocols as well for transport layer. And the most common of which is the TCP. Okay. That's why we have a version of our OSI, by the way, called TCP IP. So it specifically makes use of TCP and sometimes UDP. Okay, TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, and that's the more common one if you want feedback or handshaking between our robots or between the robot and the server or the remote user. So the point is we have the protocol for each layers from the physical up to the application part. So both sides must follow the same protocol in each of these layers. Okay? For them to communicate effectively. Okay, I guess we can discuss this further in the third section. Okay, see you.